all day up here it was yellow. Everything was yellow. Like somebody was shining a big yellow light over the top of your house. That was the worst day of my life.
It was the worst day in a lot of lives. 19 firefighters died in the Yarnell Hill Fire when the wind shifted and flames overran their position. 100 homes in the small mountain community of Yarnell were also lost. But when tragedy strikes, small signs of hope often emerge in the most unlikely of places.
So I was in doing some work, and then I heard some scratching. I thought, what are you guys doing in there? We got about 10 cats now with the fire going on and everything. So I finally got my little pin light and shined it, and I thought, what in the world doesn't look like a kitty cat?
The small animal that made its way to the safety of Christine and Leon Smith's laundry room a month after the fire was a starving, exhausted, and badly burned raccoon.
If she came from the shrine, which I think she did, and I think God showed her the way, quite frankly, is my opinion. But if she came from the shrine, it's about, from our place here, maybe half a mile, thereabouts. And she would have had to travel through some pretty, not only the rough terrain, but the rough terrain on fire.
The shrine of St. Joseph of the Mountains was heavily damaged, but in this part of Yarnell, it's also where the fire stopped. Once the Smiths realized what they had, Christine called Arizona Game and Fish, who sent their closest wildlife rehabilitation expert to rescue the raccoon.
Well, when I first saw him, even huddled in the corner, I felt like that was a burn on his legs. But I didn't realize it was as severe as it was until I got him home and was able to just sit down real quietly while he was calm and look at him in the carrier, and I realized that it more than likely was burns. And that was Sandy's first thought, was that maybe he was in the Yarnell fire.
You can see that little white band, so where the gray skin, which is her original skin, ends, and then that white band of new skin, which is new skin sort of forming out across there.
Soon the little animal was in the care of Dr. Mike Kiedrowski, who was able to determine that her injuries were about 4 weeks old, which would have put her right in the middle of the infamous wildfire. The burns to her feet and legs were severe. Even the tips of her ears were singed off. The obvious question on everyone's mind was, what were her chances for recovery?
Well, until we got her under anesthesia, I don't think we really knew the answer to that, but once we got her under anesthesia and once we got these things really looked at, I think her chances for a good, functional, pain-free life running around are outstanding. Based on the fact that, you know, she really has all the functional parts, but she won't have the dexterity of her fingers left behind, so she's really not going to be able to go out there and hunt in the wild and forage for her food. She's missing those foot pads, so she's not going to be able to climb trees and branches and things like that. And then last but not least, missing the hair off of her legs, and that's not going to come back. And because that's not going to come back, she's going to need to be insulated against some of the elements. So she's going to be a great, great candidate for an educational animal to be placed into a zoo or sanctuary.
The raccoon, who the Smiths are calling Grace, because they feel it was by the grace of God she survived, was sent to the Adobe Wildlife Center to recover until a long-term solution could be found for her. There she took her first tentative steps and enjoyed a long, cool drink of water.
It's definitely a blessing that this little guy made it as long as he did. Tremendous amount of determination. It's just incredible. You wonder what they're thinking and what's going on in their little minds when they have to go through something like that, because you know he was running through the fire for his little legs and the tips of his ears and all to be burned as badly as they were. It's just amazing.
But a little time and a lot of care can do wonders. Just 8 weeks after coming to the Wildlife Center, Grace is getting ready to be transferred to her new home at the Heritage Park Zoological Sanctuary. The zoo is in Prescott, only about 30 miles from the town of Yarnell.
So I think she has a great chance, and I think that putting her back in the community where the biggest impact and where, you know, this need is felt, that's a good thing. She's going back home, and everybody hopefully will be happy to have her there.
The Yarnell Hill Fire was responsible for an overwhelming loss of life, and property, and habitat. In some cases, it even tested people's faith, all of which gives the survival of one little raccoon a little more meaning than it normally might.
Yeah, she's got a rough road to go. But I think it's also part of the healing process for the community and for everybody that, you know, had any sensitivity to what this fire did. Maybe she is our local symbol, as our raccoon that survived the Yarnell fire.
There's absolutely no doubt how Leon and Christine Smith feel about it.
Don't know how she made it.
It's amazing. Amazing grace.